Yang Gonghuan, former deputy director of Communist China's CDC, alerted the world that the second wave of the pandemic has begun. In Beijing's Dongcheng district, the government brainwashed the people with Cultural Revolution-like slogans and encouraged them to snitch on one another. After contracting cancer, Cao Yaxiong, an expert on socialism with Wuhan University, relied on crowdfunding to pay for medical expenses. After hiring 4 million additional assistant police officers, the CCP unveiled a new investigation law authorizing the police to open fire without warning. Central Bank Governor Yi Gang published an article advocating for the utopia of socialism and covering up the reality of economic recession. Terry Guo sold out his Alibaba stocks at the high price of $300, foreboding another financial turmoil. Although this is October, the water level in the Chaohu Lake hasn't receded. Flood fighting becomes the new norm. At Handan City, the evil police and firefighters colluded to demolish people's homes, inciting massive protests. The CCP despised the Chinese people and prioritized for foreigners. Chinese students had to wait behind foreign students. Look, our country is so great, foreign guests are always first. At Wuhan University, 400 students harvested wheat crops with bare hands. This recreated the scene during the Cultural Revolution when students labored in the countryside. The CCP rekindled Cultural Revolution version 2.0. After being severely brainwashed, these people displayed symptoms of mass hysteria. The CCP's manufacturing quality is worrying. An anti-aircraft gun suddenly got jammed. Weapons manufactured in Communist China are unreliable and dangerous to the soldiers. Everyone get out of the way. The flag shell got jammed. Li Xiaoming, a lieutenant of an air defense brigade in the Army's 82nd Division. The breech mechanism has a problem. The flag's breech was damaged, and the shell was squeezed and deformed under pressure. The soldiers carried the unexploded shell to a safe zone for detonation and quickly repaired the gun. The flank cannon is back in service a few minutes later. Fire a launch shot. Go! In Communist China, a new 100 billion state-owned enterprise was just established. It's 100% owned by the State Council. Jiang Xuguang, the Vice Minister for the Ministry of Water Resources, is the chairman of the board. The largest state-owned machine tool company went bankrupt. Shenyang Machine Tool Company Limited, once ranked first in the world, filed for bankruptcy under a crushing debt load. On October 10, 2020, the foreign ministers of China and Iran held talks in Tanchong, Yunnan to safeguard the interests of the axis of evil. U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo said in an interview on October 9 that the U.S., Japan, Australia, and India have formed an alliance against the CCP threat. The CCP wants to conduct military exercises near Kinmen in order to threaten Taiwan. The Malaysian Coast Guard detained 6 Chinese fishing boats, arrested 60 people, putting pressure on the communist government.
Geng Shuang speaks at the UN. I'm going to make one point in my reply today, that is, the US is the biggest threat to global strategic security and stability. The reason I say this is based on 10 simple facts. 1. Obsessed with the military. 2. Return to Cold War mentality. 3. Pursue unilateralism. 4. Seek self-on restrictions. 5. Engage in political manipulation. 6. Break the strategic balance. 7. Prevent biological arms control. 8. Delay the destruction of chemical weapons. 9. Promote Star Wars. 10. Build an empire of hackers. The above 10 facts are just a summary of the U.S. perverse practices in the field of international security and disarmament.
Hong Kong's gangster police continue the wanton spree of arrests and violence against their own siblings.
Right now, I'm medication-free. I'm not taking any medications as of, probably 8 hours ago or so. I'm medication-free, which frankly makes me feel good. I don't like medication. I feel really good. I feel very strong. I know a lot of people that have had the COVID or the China virus, as I call it, because it came from China. But I feel really, really strong. And a lot of people don't feel that way sometimes for a while afterwards. But very good. I didn't have a problem with breathing, which a lot of people seem to have. I had none of that. But I didn't feel very strong. I didn't feel very vital. I didn't feel like the president of the U.S. should feel.
But Dr. Yan, many scientists and researchers have actually slammed your claims, dismissed your paper as unsubstantiated. They have said it cannot be given any credibility. Can you really back up these claims that you have made?
Okay, first, what I want to tell you is this report full of the scientific evidence, and they were read by the relevant people in U.S. government, including the top experts, before I publish it. And they are totally convinced and give the very positive support to me. The second thing is I see a lot of mainstream media, including Daily Beast, including the National Geographic and New York Times. They write the papers using almost the same words to discredit my paper. And they invite those experts who cannot point out any evidence I use is wrong. According to the fact, they will use some word like nonsense, like some even worse word, and also they cut paste a part of my word and change the concept. Basically, they use their title as scientists to twist people's understanding about the word in my paper. That's why I put the paper online in the open access. If people go to find and check, verify, they will understand who is telling the fact and who is changing the fact but misleading people. So for this, some expert, I will give the response later. But now I'm busy with the very important next scientific work, the report. So I will release the next scientific report very soon. After that, I will also publish the reply to some of these experts. And also I will tell people how many ties between them to Chinese Communist Party. That's why they are the one jumping out to use this kind of lies and misinformation to mislead people.
Is anything else coming, though? We heard the president on the White House lawn the other day reminding everybody that the virus is the China virus. It's their fault. And he's saying that they will pay a big price. And I've been hearing that for a while, that it's coming. It's coming. When is it coming, and what could it be?
So I don't want to get out in front of the decision that the president has before him to make. But make no mistake about it, we recognize what the Chinese Communist Party did to the world, what they did to the American people, not only the loss of life here that's so tragic, but all the destruction of jobs and opportunity that's happened. The Chinese Communist Party is directly responsible for this because they chose to cover this up and do what authoritarian regimes do, hide information from the world. I will tell you that the Chinese Communist Party has already started to pay a price in so many ways. I don't know if you saw the data, but the world has turned against them. people have come to understand the threat that they pose. And so all the goodwill that they had garnered over all these past years, when we looked the other way and let the Chinese Communist Party destroy jobs and destroy our way of life here in the West, I think the world has come to see what the Chinese Communist Party is truly made of. And I think you'll see not only the United States impose a cost for this, but I think you'll see countries all across the world come to recognize they want to be firmly planted as a partner and ally of the United States of America.
Hong Kong police said on Saturday they'd arrested 9 people suspected of helping 12 Hong Kong activists who fled the city in August, heading for Taiwan, only to be intercepted by Chinese authorities and held on the mainland. The detainees' plight has grabbed international attention, with human rights groups raising concern as their families said they were denied access to independent lawyers and had suspicion that Hong Kong authorities helped in China's arrests. Accused of crimes tied to anti-government protests in Hong Kong last year, the group is being detained in China's southern city of Shenzhen after authorities intercepted their boat and accused them of illegal border crossing. Police arrested 4 men and 5 women suspected of arranging transport for the fugitives.
Those 3 things alone, right? They know that immediately. In Beijing CDC is telling her, "Hey, we know we got a problem, and we got it in Wuhan, around the P4 lab." Right? They already got 40 cases. But if you got 40, that means you're going to have 40,000, right? Oh, and we can't talk about the 40 because the only talk about 27 because the 40 of them, only 27 can be associated to the wet market, and we got to keep attached to the wet market because that'll get the thing off the lab.
That's the narrative. Yeah.
That's the narrative. So they've already crafted. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Yan. They're already coming up with the crafting of the narrative even in December. Is that correct?
Yes. One more thing I want to remind that actually from the cases, there are people who have no contact to other patients and also no history to seafood market. So
that's another. In litigation, they call that a bad fact.
Which
right.
also implies that there was community transmission going on already, and they denied that reality.
I don't want to jump around too much, but you just bring up a great point. And Jack Maxey has pulled up the World Health Organization, and we don't want to kick a beaten dog like a World Health Organization, but this is critical to what the mainstream media, why the Democrats can't come out to vote on Election Day. They've traumatized their base because they will not go back and look at the facts like adults. He's got their critical path up, the World Health Organization. Dr. Yan, you're telling me that a scientist associated, we don't want to give his name out, associated with the Beijing CDC told you on early January that there was human-to-human transmission and community spread.
Yes.
The World Health Organization sent out a press release on January 12th, followed by a tweet on January 14th, while a delegation of senior cadre of the Chinese Communist Party is in the East Wing of the White House, signing the first phase of the trade deal. And they come out and say, after consultation with senior members of Chinese health authorities, there is no human-to-human transmission or community spread. So, Dr. Yan, how could that? What is that? That's either a bald-faced lie, or WHO. Did they not get the correct information from you, the Hong Kong lab? Because you guys are the reference lab, aren't you? The check. How did they get so missed? How did they? You were told in January 1st or 2nd, yet on the 12th and 14th, they're telling the world nothing to worry about here.
They know it, of course, but they're scared of Chinese Communist Party. For example, Dr. Liu Peng, he directly after the 2nd January, contact my friend in CDC directly, and he told me later that you get out of this investigation for a while from the 3rd January. Is that because it's dangerous and the China government doesn't want us to talk about it, so I won't tell you more about the information. I said, okay. And then they are obedient to China government's policies. China government doesn't want people to talk about it, and they want people just listen to their statement. That's why the WHO later said there is no case, and all their statement is the same. As what China government said. And also behind that, there is benefit, of course.
The last time you were on the show, you dropped kind of a bomb. I believe you said that Dr. Pierce had traveled to Wuhan in early January. Can you explain that a little bit better or more clearly?
Before Wuhan got locked down, he went to the mainland China, and he went to Wuhan at least twice, secretly.
He went to Wuhan actually secretly, and then
not for fun, definitely.
Right, and Malik Pierce is a World Health Organization physician. Am I correct? He is
consultant. I think is he a consultant or actually part of the World Health Organization?
He's the top guy behind Dr. Tedros, behind the technical officer, director in the COVID-19 team, the Dr. Maria. He's the one behind that.
There's no doubt in your mind, I want to make sure we're clear about this. Is there any doubt in your mind that senior members of the World Health Organization knew the facts, or was the CCP so lying to them that they would not know the facts? When they put out that press release and when they put out that tweet on the 14th and the press release on the 12th, were they misled, or did they actually understand something was going on and they just lied along with the CCP?
They are the one who's put to that predictions. I'm sure they are not stupid, right? But definitely they know all the things, and the people provide information to them. Professor Liu Peng and Professor Malik Pierce and other people from China side, and those people also know what happened. And these people, they work all together very well. It doesn't like some stupid behavior and know nothing.
I want to go back. We got a couple of minutes left in this segment, but I want to go back to the second thing you said about that. They actually never put forward. I want to go to this time. We got about a minute. They didn't actually put the correct genome up, but then they realized they had a problem. They pulled that back. It gets a little complicated. Explain it to the audience what they did about putting out the correct genome sequence and then trying to cover it up.
And okay, so go slow, because I know this is technical, okay, but take it slow. We got time.
Okay, briefly, so on 10th January, China government said they have the sequence of the genome of the virus in Wuhan. And then they publish it from the NIH, the Gene Bank, which is the biggest database on such pathogens, DNA sequence in the world. And they post it there on 12th January, so we can check it. And my husband checked it immediately, and he realized there were some error things happen. So those errors are very unusual because the virus genome is basically like our fingerprint. It's like you check it like you take photo. So you upload it there. Maybe there will be some gap or something, but there should be not such error. Make you cannot find the family of them, cannot have any hint to find their family. But 2 days later, they changed the version to version 2 and clearly mentioned on website that it's replaced or removed the version 1, which is also very unusual. And at that day, I checked
Dr. Yan, hang on a second. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to come back to this. This is very important about the genome sequence because you can't really get to a vaccine unless you know what you're working with. Okay, short commercial break. War and pandemic. The most important 2 hours of your media life is going on now as you find out how this virus started.
Remember my words. In our war between good and evil, someone is definitely going to jail in America. Let's see who they will be. Will it be the force of evil you bought, who depend on lies, use the name of God to disguise themselves, can travel back to China whenever they want, bribe U.S. government officials and use dirty police tricks? And those 8 rifles and those fake tweets and the 120 congressmen you bribed, were there really 120 of them to be bribed? My friends, those of you in Texas today who were arrested, my heart goes out to you. This is why we must use the law to punish these liars. Think about it. If you were persecuted in China and you escaped out of the country, have you thought about it? Bob Fu, Guo Baosheng, Meng Weican, Xia Yeliang, Hu Ping, Wu Jianming, these bastards, and scum such as Sasha Gong. Do they have the ability to fool Caucasians? Absolutely not. Do they have the ability to hurt them? They cannot do that either. They can only hurt people like us. In other words, sell and deceive our compatriots, then bribe U.S. politicians and use what they obtain through BGY to make deals with CCP. This is their biggest evil. I can tell you still haven't grasped the significance of punishing these liars through law. It's because our families are getting hurt in China. And they were being hurt because of what these bastards did.
France sees highest daily COVID-19 increase with more than 26,800 cases in 24 hours. Germany tightens COVID-19 restrictions as numbers surge in Europe. Russia reports record single-day rise in coronavirus cases. India has now reported more than 7 million coronavirus cases as it gets a step closer to overtaking the United States as the world's most infected country. Nepal sets new single-day record of COVID-19 cases as total infections top 100,000. Brazil's coronavirus deaths pass 150,000 as infection rate slows. CDC director says 40 million people have been infected by COVID-19 in the US. North Korea continues to insist that it remains free of the coronavirus pandemic.